of Christ, deemed to be University, Bangalore, and the Office of Alumni Engagement, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the sixth session of the Global Connect series webinar, Middle East chapter. The Global Connect series has, over the past few sessions, grown into much more than just a webinar format. It has become a bridge that connects our alumni's real world experience with the ambitions of our current students. Every session adds another thread to that fabric, strengthening a global network built on shared learning and a shared identity as Christites. Today's session carries the title Personal Branding for the Job Market, and it could not be more timely. In a world where opportunity often depends on how effectively you can communicate your own value, this conversation promises practical, real world strategies from sharpening your resume and LinkedIn presence to building the kind of professional credibility that genuinely opens doors. The Middle East has firmly established itself as one of the most dynamic business hubs in the world, a region defined by ambitions, rapid growth, and an increasingly global multicultural workforce. But thriving in a market this competitive takes more than technical know how. It calls for a clear sense of who you are professionally, the confidence to communicate that clearly, and the credibility to back it up. Before we proceed further, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge and express our sincere gratitude to the distinguished leaders and members whose vision, guidance, and unwavering support continues to strengthen the alumni community and make initiatives like this possible. We extend our sincere gratitude to Reverend Dr. Joe Ceci, Vice Chancellor, for his continued support and encouragement of alumni engagement initiatives. We also express our appreciation to Reverend Dr. Viju PD, Pro Vice Chancellor, and Reverend Father Varkey KG, Chief Finance Officer, Christ, for their guidance and support in strengthening alumni driven initiatives. Our heartfelt thanks to Reverend Father Jossie George, Director, Alumni Chapter, Christ, for his commitment to fostering meaningful connections among Christites across the globe. We are also grateful to Brigadier B.G. Jagdish, Director, Center for Placements, Career Guidance, and the Office of Alumni Engagements for his leadership and continued support in making initiatives like the Global Connect series possible. We would also like to acknowledge Dr. Rishikesh KB, Associate Director, Institutional Partnerships, Internships and Alumni Connect, for his guidance and dedicated efforts in organizing today's webinar. A special word of thanks to Ms. Maria Monica, Alumni Mentor, Middle East Chapter, for the continued support and mentorship extended to the chapter. Finally, we acknowledge the efforts of Ms. Ranju Matthew and Ms. Vinita Lalu, alumni coordinators whose planning and coordination have been instrumental in the successful organization of this webinar. Now, it is my privilege to introduce a proud alumnus of Christ who completed his PUC at our institution and passed out in 1996, Mr. Anit Varkey Kurian. He now serves as the Managing Director, MEA, at Redhill World, Dubai, UAE, steering the organization's strategy and operations across the Middle East and Africa region. Across a career built at the intersection of brand strategy and business growth, Mr. Kurian has developed a rare hands-on understanding of what it truly takes to stand out professionally, not just in one market, but across some of the most competitive business environments in the world. In today's session on personal branding for the job market, he will draw on that experience to help each of us think more deliberately about how we present ourselves professionally through our resumes, our networks, and every touchpoint that shapes how the world perceives our value. It is now my privilege to invite Mr. Anit Varkey Kurian to take the floor. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ravan. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for making the time for this. Let me start by wishing you all a very happy Independence Day. I know that it's a Saturday. It's the second half of a Saturday. We all have probably plans and things to look forward to. But thank you for making the time for this. And if I could draw your attention, my was that introduction that Shravan just gave about me. Thank you very much for your kind words. That was very generous in your description. I've had the privilege of being a
Thank you, sir.
student at Christ College back in the day before it was Christ University, between 1994 and 96, which was probably around the birth date of many of y'all. But since then, I think the time that I've spent in my career is something that has been of immense value to me, and I'm very glad for this opportunity to be able to share it with all of you. If the thinking that I hope this sparks from this session can help you in any way, whether it is around your career growth, around the kind of opportunities that you're looking at, whether you're fresh out of college, you're still in college, whether you're already a few years into your career, I do hope that this is useful for you. With that, I'll quickly get into a short introduction of what we are going to be spending some time on today. Before that, just for Shravan, can you hear and see me and the screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Great. No, sir, just Anit, please. I'm not that old. For personal branding, we're going to split this into two kind of distinct areas. While we are looking at branding for the job market, there is no one particular instance in your life or in your professional career that you look at the job market. It is a constant and consistent outlook and outreach that you need to ensure, because going into the job market is not like how you go to the market to buy vegetables. You go, you open your fridge, you find you're short of something, you go to the market, you buy something and come back home. A job market is not like that. A job market is constant. A job market requires consistency, and a job market requires you to always ensure that your best foot is put forward, whatever your current circumstance might be. Now, why we're looking at personal branding around this is because the job market, which consists of companies, people, your colleagues, your ex-clients, people you come into contact with on a professional basis, on a daily basis. All of these represent the job market that you're potentially going to be interacting with at some point. So the branding that you portray, the branding that you carry, and the branding that you ensure that others experience when they interact with you is essentially what is going to differentiate you when the time comes for an opportunity. Now, there is one brand that connects all of us over here, and that, of course, is Christ University. Now, I'm going to ask all of you to maybe just take a moment and look at this next slide. This is the mission statement of Christ University. I'm looking for volunteers here to fill in the blanks. If you had noticed on the first slide that we just saw, which was the cover slide of this presentation, the mission statement was included over there. But leave aside whether you paid attention to that.
Anit, sorry to interject.
Yeah.
Actually, the slide is not visible.
Yes,
Is
it's
that
not
the same
visible.
page, Shravan? Yeah. Could you just screen share once again?
Yep. Doing that right now. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir. Now it's visible.
Slideshow? Is it
Where
on
it says
slideshow?
complete the following?
Yes, it,
Yes.
it does. But we're also able to see your
You're
note to the
seeing the
slide. Yes,
presenter
yes,
view, is it?
yes.
Okay, okay. One second. Now, how do I do that? One second, please. How about now?
Yes, sir. Now it's visible.
All good. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, the title says complete the following, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Perfect. So, yeah, this is I'm asking for volunteers now from the group of attendees here before everybody falls asleep. But this is the mission statement of Christ University, and as a brand that we've all spent a lot of time close to, who wants to take a stab at completing this for the group? Anybody? Before I ask Shravan to pick up somebody at random,
May I answer, sir?
please go ahead. And no, sir, please.
Huh. Christ University is a nurturing ground for an individual's holistic development to make effective contribution to the society in a dynamic environment.
Was there no online help for that?
No, sir, no, sir.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So that is uh, the wording that is in the mission statement of Christ University. And here, what you will notice is that this is essentially the brand persona or the brand profile that Christ University is putting out into the world. This is how Christ University defines itself. This is how Christ University wants to be seen. And this is how Christ University wants to be recognized in a market where there are a number of universities, there are a number of educational institutions. And for someone who is on the lookout for a place to access higher education or specialized education, you have to find a way to stand out and ensure that you're attracting the kind of people that you want to be a part of this organization. So where Christ University has made the significant effort is in ensuring that there are a couple of areas that are being covered. It starts by calling itself a nurturing ground. It is not just a college, it's not a ground with a collection of buildings. It's a nurturing ground for an individual's holistic development, not just education, not just learning manners or how to interact in society. It is about holistic development, which encompasses a number of different areas, and also allowing them or enabling them, preparing them to make an effective contribution to society. It's not just about come here, study, go away and make something of yourself. It is come, be a part of this community. And tomorrow, when you go out into the world, we want you to be a positive impact in the community and the society that you are part of. So if you look at that as the kind of brand statement of Christ University, we then go into is that the only thing that goes into making what a brand really is? And the more importantly, as anybody who has been a part of this this institution, this university, is this how you talk about or introduce Christ University? And the reason I'm asking this is because, as I said earlier, when we looked at the mission statement, what those words represented were what Christ University tells about itself. This is, to be very clear, not pointing fingers, not pointing out any differences in opinion or anything of that sort. But if Christ University is speaking that language about holistic development, about being a nurturing ground, and about preparing people for society, if somebody were to ask you about your experience with Christ University, current or previous, what would be the kind of wording that you would use? Again, open to the floor. Anybody who'd like to share some thoughts, most welcome.
So may I answer?
Please, again, no
So
sir, but please go ahead.
yeah, if someone asked me about how my university is, I would definitely say that it is unlike the other universities because it just does not focus on education mostly, but it also focuses on your development as an individual. We have so many opportunities here. We meet so many people from different parts of India, and whatever we are taught, it is in the essence of the fact that we are not divided by where we come from, but we're united because we all come to a place because our end goal is the same. So that is again excellence in service and to become better informed individuals.
Great. I think thanks for that, Archita. And I think you really touched on a couple of those points that Christ University itself talks about itself. Like you mentioned about how it's a place where it's holistic development, which is exact wording that's in the mission statement. And you also spoke about how a diverse group comes together, spends some time together within the university, and as you go out into the world and society tomorrow, potentially you're going to use that experience to make a difference in the world around you. That's amazing, and thanks so much for sharing that. So now let's get back into what we are going to be focusing on more from our own point of view. Now, I only did that exercise to illustrate how what a brand talks about itself and how somebody who has experience or interact with the brand might think about that brand. In this case, we saw that it was quite well aligned, which is absolutely fabulous. But it's not always the case that it's going to be like that. For instance, while I was preparing for this, I thought maybe somebody might say it's a fairly strict university in terms of attendance. Maybe we didn't have uniforms or any very strict dress codes back in the day. Maybe somebody might bring up that. But no, it's great to see that everybody is well aligned on the fact that it's all about holistic development and preparation for society. So getting into personal branding, does anybody want to take a stab at? I'll give you a clue as well. What are the two critical elements that have to be the kind of pillars that personal branding is built on? No pressure. If anybody has a thought, please feel free to share. Otherwise, I'm happy to quickly move on.
Sir, if I may. Okay, again, no, sir, right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first one, as an attempt, I would say that something to do with impression management, how you come across to the person next to you. It could be anything, be it your gestures, your nonverbal cues, the kind of confidence you're projecting, whether you are articulate in how you are putting across your points, are you able to formulate? So I'm speaking more from a communication perspective. So
Sure.
that's all from my side. Yeah.
Thank you, Meryl. That's great to hear because I'm very much from a communications perspective myself. But there's an analogy just to kind of show the difference in the various kinds of marketing and branding. Even you're at a party, you see somebody you'd like to be introduced to, and you walk up to them and say, "Hi, my name is, in my case, Anit, and this is what I do." That is advertising. You ask your friend to introduce you to somebody, your friend tells that person, "Hey, you know what, this is Anit, this is what he does." That's public relations. You ask somebody for their social media handle, you follow them and start commenting over there. That's social media management. But on a serious note, personal branding essentially is all areas of marketing put together. It is all about how you yourself uh, you know create yourself, package yourself as a brand, and that is to interact and engage with people, with brands, with potential employers, with your current employers, with your colleagues, your clients, and various other stakeholders. But the two pillars that I really want to ensure that you keep in mind when you think about what personal branding is, it is that there is a proactive and a reactive element to personal branding. And the difference is very simple. It is one pillar is very clearly what you say about yourself. The second, very strong, very influential pillar is, let's say, an equally important pillar is what people know and believe about you. So, as you can see now already, this means that personal branding is not just something that you can ensure that you do every day and do yourself and do well. It's equally on as a matter of how other people see you, how other people perceive you, how they think about you in and how they talk about you in rooms that you're not in. So these two elements coming together are very critical to what your personal brand will be. And while what is in our control is always going to be how we talk about ourselves. There is a certain element, an external element that we also need to factor in. And of course, with having spent some time working on your brand, having spent some time building your brand, you will start to see what are those different steps and measures that you can take to even start to change how people see and perceive you. Moving on from that fairly broad definition, there is in public relations, in corporate communications, there is a very strong guiding principle that your reputation is what works for you when you're not in that room or in that building or in that discussion. Your reputation is what has to be strongly present even if you physically are not. Equally, in a vacuum, if you don't say anything about yourself, if you don't put yourself out there and talk about the present the messages that you want the world and the market to know, chaos always fills a vacuum, which means that it's going to be chaos. There's going to be no cohesion between what people start to learn and understand about you. There's going to be no cohesion between your social presence and your CV, which, as we all know today, are completely interlinked. Anybody who has hiring as one of their responsibilities, the moment you see a CV, the first thing you do is look up the person on Google, not just to see if they were arrested or got in trouble for something weird, but also to see their LinkedIn, to see how connected they are, how engaged they are with the industry that they are part of. They also look at their other social media handles wherever possible, just to get a sense of a 360-degree understanding of the personality of the person. Not that we are stalking your Instagram, but it's a great way to learn how this person is not just a one-trick pony, as they say. It's not just about work. Of course, you'd also need to have a social life. Of course, you're going to be out with your friends. It's great to see that the brand that we are interacting with is so much more than just their job alone. Today's world, like I said, when somebody goes online to look at you, what do they find? And what can you do about it, more importantly? So Google is something that still relied on very strongly, but over the last few years we've all seen how AI has picked up a lot of that space. Today, even when you search on Google on my phone, the first thing you get is an AI summary of what Claude or whoever it is believes that you should know about that particular thing. Of course, you can choose to trust it, you can choose not to, but the fact is that there is a significant portion of the population that relies on that AI response to give them a quick answer. It helps them to form an opinion or an impression even before they've done the full research. People now are using deeper levels of AI in their work. For instance, going into I don't know, taking a premium subscription for ChatGPT or any of the other ones. This helps you go even deeper, and not just those free, quick summaries that Google gives you. But if we were to go onto any of these AI platforms and search your name, what do you think you're going to find? That is homework for you all, just to kind of take a look, if you haven't already, just to see what that might look like, and consider that those are areas that we need to kind of clean house before we really get into our own branding for the job market. Platforms such as LinkedIn continue to be very important from a professional standpoint. Referrals are extremely valuable, not only because it is about your brand that somebody is speaking about, but it very much ties into that second pillar that we spoke about, personal branding, which is what are other people saying about you, or what do they believe to be true about you. The way you and they describe impact is extremely critical. Today's hiring is not just about there is a role to be filled. Here's a person who matches all the qualification description exactly. Today's going out of the window. Today, it's about what is the kind of personality match that and the organization? What are the kind of proactive steps that we expect that someone like this might be able to take for the betterment of the organization, the team, and so on. So all of these, talking about impact, is also something that we are going to be kind of looking at to ensure that that is what builds your reputation, even in places where you might not be able to speak for yourself. So the four things over here to keep in mind, if you see the four circles at the right, it is to know what appears when someone looks you up on any search thing, whether it's search engines or kind of platforms. What your peers talk about you, not just, I mean, we don't have to go out and tell everybody, hey, can you please say something good about me? But LinkedIn does that for you anyway. You can reach out to somebody who you work with. You can reach out to an ex-boss. You can reach out to people who reported to you. You can reach out to clients and say, could you please write a testimonial for me? That will be forever on my LinkedIn profile. You also look at now going into your, how, sorry, did someone say something? Can I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, sir, please. So the story part is, the first pillar of branding, which is what you say about yourself. Your across your CV, across LinkedIn, across what people talk about you as well. And the visibility is more of a kind of social interact with your network, the kind of content that you share related to your work, not related to your work, related to your areas of interest or passion. All of these serve as kind of building blocks towards that brand that you're looking to build, and kind of serve to underpin who the real you is. There are, of course, a number of other areas that probably is a little beyond the scope of this section of this topic. But it is, for instance, having a think about what are the values that really define who you are, and using that as a way to start that checklist on how to build your personal brand. We'll go into a little bit more detail into that in a little while. But here are some of the, let's say, four pitfalls of your personal brand. One is being too generic. Anybody you know who seems to have an opinion on everything, but is not really an expert on anything, is one of the most boring people to be around. They're constantly sharing a thought, they're constantly sharing an opinion, they have something to say on every topic, whether they know it well or not. And that can be quite annoying, especially so in a social media world. There is a certain level of branding that people expect from yourselves. Unless you're looking at becoming a business influencer, I think a couple of posts a week, maybe a couple of likes and shares on a daily basis, a couple of comments every week or so. All of this, I think, is a sustainable and believable level of branding that ensures that people know that yes, you're active within this network, you're there, you're watching what's happening around you, you're learning from people, you're sharing your thoughts and expertise, and you're also celebrating the wins and successes that others might have, while also talking about your own experiences, successes, failures, and whatnot. Talking about things without offering proof or leaving takeaways from that particular example with your readers or your followers or your network at large is kind of, there's really no sense in that, because you can say, and people would ask you immediately, what does that mean? Did you meet or break your sales targets? Did you learn a new thing? Did you get a promotion? Did you get an increment? If there's no proof offered to what that, it's essentially of no value. So foregoing proof on any of the elements that you are going to be sharing weakens your brand, because it shows that you are just putting out content or messages for its own sake without offering something of value to actually back. Inconsistency, sorry, in presence and messaging is essentially you can be present often, you can be somebody who likes a lot, you can be somebody who comments congratulations or great job or keep it up, all of that very often. But when your own messaging is not aligned with that, that inconsistency can weaken your brand as well. Being inconsistent can also mean being sharing a lot of insights around your particular space, your sector, talking about trends, talking about developments, but not engaging with others in the same industry who may have an opposing thought, who may have a different way of looking at something, or completely trashing anybody else who doesn't agree with exactly what you say. Can be inconsistent when it comes to both your presence, your being there, and your messaging, which is your know-how and knowing how to say it. Essentially, it's all about knowing what to say and when to say it. Going on beyond your personal, what are the pitfalls? How do we go from here? How do we really get started? And this is again a four-step kind of a four-step routine, if you will, that I'd like to offer to leave with you. We'll get into it in a kind of a timeline manner, which is, of course, customizable to anybody depending on your need. But these are the four areas essentially that we are going to be talking about for the next few minutes. I'm just going to excuse myself just to drink some water. Excuse me. Hi again. So here what we're going to be looking at is, and let me tell you exactly what these four steps are going to cover. This is for your current personal brand. This is setting a start date. You use some of the learnings from here as a way to keep your activity levels going and to ensure consistency across the various different platforms or touch points that people would have with your personal brand. Like I said, some of these things very much in your control: your LinkedIn, your CV, your corporate bio, the website that you host or run, the About Me section on your social media handles. Then there are many others that are not directly within your control, but very, very much areas that you can work towards enhancing or upgrading even. Those include the search results, your AI results, what people say about you when they are asked, what people say about you when they are not asked, what would people say about you if you were to ask them to give you a testimonial on LinkedIn. All of these can really be something that you spend some time and effort developing over time. And just to take the example of the LinkedIn testimonial, nothing in life one way. If you are for a testimonial, you can be sure that they're going to ask you for one as well. So if it's somebody you don't want to give one to, please don't ask them. So let's start with auditing. Now, this is especially in the connected world we live in today. Everybody is already present online. The question is that the version of you that you want to be seen? Have any of you ever audited your personal brand? And this goes just beyond searching your full name on Google just to see what comes up. And any interesting things that you found that surprised you? Okay, I guess you've all been fairly careful with your digital presence, which is great. I myself come from a generation that was before social media, so luckily most of what we did is not even online today. Thank God for that. So Reviewing your touch points has two elements to it. One is identifying those touch points that you want to ensure that you've looked at. You want to ensure that they are aligned across each of these, that there is a cohesion in how your experience, your personality, your qualifications are all being spoken about, so that whether someone is looking at your CV, your LinkedIn, or potentially even your Instagram, there is a thread that connects all of them together, that ensures that they know that this is the same person that they are looking at. So things like googling your name, reviewing your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have one, maybe now's a great time to consider investing some time in creating that profile. Not just updating your headline and your summary, but also looking at adding those projects, uh, those certification courses that you did, the successful completion of certain responsibilities that you were able to do. Somebody looks at your profile, they know that this is not just another um, collection of achievements. It is actually proof alongside each one of those. You look at the gaps, and those essentially are, if you distill them down, there are three. One is no clarity in the message. I of experience doing I don't know, fintech sales, and you had some great projects that you've completed with banks across India, but in your LinkedIn it's still not updated and has your previous job where you were selling, I don't know, printers. That's a very, that's a significant mismatch, and really shows that this is a brand or a person that hasn't taken the effort or the time to really align their brand presence online. There's also that inconsistency where one platform tells a different story. I know that we are all, as human beings, made up of multiple different, I don't know if I can say personalities, but personas for sure. Your work persona does not necessarily have to be your persona with your friends. Your friend persona can be different from your family persona. But the underlying fact of the matter is that your brand has to have a certain commonality across all of these. Now, whether you're the humorous person, whether you're the most reliable person, whether you are somebody who's always punctual and gets angry if somebody else isn't, those are the kinds of things that really can be transferred across these different personas. But whether it is for a professional audience, for a personal audience, there is a lot of consistency that these kinds of storytelling can bring uh, to kind of tie it all together under your personal brand. Where there isn't strong proof to support the claims that you make, essentially it is you're leaving it to for the reader to trust that what you're saying is true. Whereas if you are adding proof, it shows that you are willing to put the additional effort to show the proof of actually what you're claiming, which then changes that the belief time from longer without proof to immediate with proof. So this is when it comes to auditing your brand. So this essentially is the step that you would take now, this evening, tomorrow, or Monday during lunch, and kind of see, okay, where do I stand now, and what do I need to do to go forward? So the first step would be to kind of align, and the 4 steps over here, and align really means to take your personal brand and start to align it across the multiple touch points that people will interact and engage with your brand on a daily basis, on a weekly, monthly, annual, whatever that might be basis. We start with your positioning. So think of this as your headline. If somebody says, this is Anit, and this is what Anit is or does, this is what you want that person to say. Your positioning statement like we saw the mission statement of Christ University early, is that very little collection of wording that you want people to know about you, you want people to believe about you, you want people to share about you. What you do, the problems that you can be trusted to solve, again with proof, all of this is essentially your positioning, and as detailed and as informative as this can be, the easier it is for people to actually understand and know your brand, even without you having to explain it. The authenticity that you carry and that information that you present brings to your brand is of immense value, because the more authentic a brand, the more people engage and interact with. If you look at corporate brands, especially on social media, a lot of brands that you would think are really cool and hip, but them come across as very young oriented, but the way they interact, the way they carry their brand online doesn't always reflect that. Some brands do it the other way around. You might think of them as a slightly older brand, think of them as a very serious of a brand, but the way they carry themselves online can be very interactive, can be fun. Like Ryanair, for instance, is one that, yeah, it's an airline. Of course, they have a significant youth audience that they are targeting, but they're very tongue-in-cheek. They're very on their social media. Someone like I don't know if you know who was it? KFC had I think KFC on their, I think it was on their Twitter handle sometime back, followed only 11 people, which was because so KFC's was that they use spice and thick herbs. So they followed each member of the Spice Girls and 6 people called Herb or Herbert, and that was them, showing some difference in how they kind of portray their brand. But you wouldn't expect a brand like, I don't know, Oracle or Indian Railways, for instance, to come across as very young and cool in how they talk their social following. Like a Pepsi or even Apple to some extent to put that across, but that's not always the case. Various brands have found various other ways to be authentic, but it is about being believable, it is about being real, and not about how you actually perform to a particular audience or basically play to the gallery. What you arrive at as your authenticity is yours and only yours to define. Nobody can tell you you are doing this wrong or this is not the real you. If you believe the real you that you want to portray out to the world, that's absolutely your decision. All of this, of course, needs evidence. Like we talk about the burden of proof from the beginning. Talking about achievements, making claims about things you've done, especially in an environment where very often you do come across in, unfortunately, where people say, I did this for 6 months, I handled listening on was I doing everything. As to present for each of these, move all of that. Somebody could stand up and say, "Hang, it wasn't all you. There were so many others who also had part." That's not true. Start to collect the by your organization. These are things that you can share. But beyond that, start to understand you keep record of all these and people your personal brand and your personal touch, so that on a consistent basis there is constant updating that is happening. having spoken about that consistent basis, consistency is key. It's not about, if you ask me, the same message consistently across all your touch points on a platform like LinkedIn, on a lot of these media, or even the traditional media kind of outlets that you might be participating in. It is ensuring consistency of presence so that you're not just posting something and then disappearing for a few months, coming back, posting something, and going and hibernating again. Consistency of presence is potentially as important as consistency across messaging. Now we're going to spend a little bit of time on the commencing part. Now the commencing is essentially a quick look, a quick snapshot into. Take the example of your LinkedIn profile. What are the 6 things that you need to do to ensure that your LinkedIn profile is, not going to say that you're going to stand out as an influencer tomorrow, but at least is going to be a, a believable profile on LinkedIn. People see that you come time before is that you use to describe yourself and an ideal word somebody else use to describe you. Opportunity into the world via your LinkedIn headline. That down feel free to review and change as may be needed over the years, but it has to capture those key attributes of your brand and your expertise, and as it grows over the years, that you want people to know. For Christ University, in that mission statement that we saw, I'm quite sure that the Christ College of the 70s or the 80s was not about holistic development, was not about building a cohort of students that go out and make a difference in society. As the university has evolved, grown, changed, all of that, of course, the mission, their vision could have changed as well. So it doesn't mean that just because you said something today as your headline, that it has to remain that way forever. No,
Sir,
it
I'm
can
sorry to
change. It
interrupt
should
you.
change. Yeah,
Sir,
no
I'm
worries.
sorry to interrupt you, but your audio is breaking up. We are not able to
Yes,
hear
it
you
is.
clearly.
Oh, sorry. Um, has it been like that for some time, or just
Yeah, it
now?
has been like for a few
It's been
minutes.
for some
It has been
time, sir.
happening for some time.
Oh
But
no.
now it has been a little more
Uh,
bad.
is it?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it okay now? Can you hear me saying this?
No,
No,
sir.
sir, it's still breaking, sir.
Still breaking, sir.
Oh no. Uh, just 1 second, please. Give me 1 second, please.
Sir will be with us shortly. Just give us a few minutes.
Hi everyone, sorry, but can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir. We're
Yes,
able
now
to
it's
hear you.
better. Now it's better.
Great. Okay, I'm just going to continue without my video just to save on bandwidth a little
Okay, sir.
bit. So, do you see the screen, the slide that says the headline?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So essentially, your headline is that one statement that you can think of as your mission statement, as your vision statement, even that you really want to ensure that people hear from you. They say it about you, and they talk about you using those words and terminologies. From that, we go into your kind of broader or larger profile. It starts, of course, all of the supporting proof that ideally serves to really bring that to life. Um, where it asks for proof or where it requires proof are links that you can include. Of course, check with colleagues, with employers, with clients, that all of this is publicly shareable information, and as far as possible, include links or even statistics to show that these were really completed and done, and are act as proof for the claims that you make. On something like LinkedIn, visuals are fairly important, at least from a profile point of view. There's a, if you ask me, a slightly disturbing trend of people believing that they need to have a photo of themselves along with every post that they put up, which is a little strange to me. But of course, you need a good cover photo. I mean, a profile photo. You can get a good cover. What is that called? A cover picture designed to do with your expertise. To do with, I myself have used a word cloud of my own CV. Go to one of the online word cloud generators. I put in the text from my CV in over there. It threw out a whole a graphic that I thought made sense to use as a cover picture. CVs and photos, if you ask me, unless you're going for a job in modeling or as airline cabin crew, I don't believe that CVs require photos. But again, some people believe that that's the way to go, and it's a judgment call that I would encourage you to take. But there is something to be said about a certain visual element that is valuable. A lot of people tend to be more visual than wordy. I myself am more of a word person than a visual person, but everyone's not like me, and they're lost, but I get it. Um, so there are people that go more by the visuals. If you are somebody who's comfortable leading visually rather than verbose, by all means go for it. And that's something that I will leave to your expert judgment. Anybody making a claim about something that they did, It's always most believable when somebody else stands up and says, you know what, that's true. I saw it, or I was there, and I know that this happened. If it's always the case that um, the more crazy the claim, it's always that, oh, nobody was there to see it. It just happened to me alone. And then you kind of know that maybe that really didn't happen. But if you are able to get recommendations, if you get endorsements from people who professionally know you and are able to vouch for any or all of the claims that you are making in your profile, there's nothing like that. That's significant value, not just in that moment or for the near term, but from a fairly long term perspective. Such recommendations and endorsements carry a lot of weight. We come back consistently to this word, consistency. Um, Creating a consistency in your branding, in your profile building, is probably the hardest part. Finding some even Instagram, create a calendar or a timetable that said 11 a.m. on Monday and 4 p.m. on Thursday, I am going to post something. You're probably setting yourself up for failure. But if you go with the thinking that I need to create 2 posts for the next week, you're probably going to find more success in that approach. If you say that I'm going to do 2 posts next week on this topic only, again, you might find yourself suddenly scrambling at what you're going to be talking about. But if you say that I'm going to look at either trends in my sector, I'm going to look at interesting insights that somebody senior in my industry has spoken about, that I have an interesting thought on, that's something that might be easier for you to build consistency around. This consistency is not only applicable to the kind of profiles that you manage or you own. It also includes your resume, your CV, your company profile, your about me section on each of your platforms. Why should that remain static when everything else is changing around you? Be sure to even review your CV maybe a couple of times a year, just to ensure that you're not missing out on something recent that you really want to ensure is captured in that and would really be timely for someone in the job market to see and to know about from you at that time. Once we've done all of this in terms of actually getting the house in order, we then look at how we take this out, keep this going on a longer term. Like I said earlier and a couple of times, it's not about building influencer status. That's not what I'm here to talk about. It is professional recall. Essentially, it means that even if you are not yourself applying for a job, if somebody sees that job opening and immediately thinks of you and either makes that recommendation or even sends that link to you to apply, then that means that your personal branding has worked and has made that relevant connection with that person in that moment and brought you that opportunity. So now, how do we go about ensuring that it's not just us talking about ourselves only, which is that one strong pillar of branding that we spoke about? How do we start to influence the second pillar, which is how do people think of us and talk about us? The 3 here that you see are about sharing insights, commenting when you have something substantial to say, and networking with intentionality, in the sense that we're not just doing it for the sake of networking. We're not just out collecting business cards. We're looking to build genuine connections. We're looking to see where that next opportunity could come from, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. So sharing insights are, you spend a few years in a particular industry, you build a certain expertise in how things are done, in how things work, in how things move. And then you see things starting to move a little or change a little around you. And then you might have, start thinking about what this could mean for you, your peers, your teams, your organizations, maybe 5 years down the line. many times in one's career, you can come across these kind of transformational moments that entire industries change, sometimes unfortunately cease to exist. But having a view on what the future of this industry is essentially looking at a trend analysis, is looking at what could the future hold, what could, how would this industry react to it. All of these can be topics that, especially when you're looking ahead, don't have a clear answer. It's not always going to be the most scientific answer that wins the day. It's all about trend observations. It's all about sharing opinions on what the future might look like. On the back of that, there could be lessons, there could be guidance that you think of, there could be some reflections on the past, on how things used to be, and so much more that you're able to share with your networks as insights. And again, when you think about sharing insights, also remember that you're going to attract a lot of commentary, you're going to attract a lot of reactions and responses from people. The point is not to just share an insight and go away, but potentially on a platform like LinkedIn, use that as a starting point to a discussion. Now, on the flip side of that is you don't always have to share a blog post and wait for people to comment before you actually get into a conversation. You can flip that and go out onto somebody else's post and start to comment over there. Not every post requires a comment. Not every opinion needs a reaction, but you will know when it is up your alley, when it is something that really resonates with you and you believe that you're able to add value into that conversation. By all means, share a comment, share that with your groups, and tell them, you know what, I saw this interesting post, I thought you guys might like to see this as well. Once you start participating in those discussions, essentially you are seen as one of the cogs in the wheel that is that particular space. And that essentially, if you ask me, at the end of the day, is what we want to be seen as. If there is a certain industry that you are closely aligned with, if there is a particular role that you feel defines you exactly, and if the more we are seen as aligned with that, the more we are seen as inseparable from that, I think there's nothing better to come out from a personal branding exercise. Networking, most of us think of as going to a networking event, which is essentially some hotel ballroom or a dinner or an award function where you have to go and shake hands with people and talk to them about the weather and do all sorts of strange things. But networking is not only about just going out and meeting new, is equally keeping your own network active and alive. So whether it's people you've worked with previously, whether it's your colleagues, your bosses, people who reported to you, previous clients, people who worked with you as partners, various stakeholders within your professional network. Go beyond that. I mean, go to your friends and family. If they're in a similar kind of work profile as you, they are part of your professional network as well. Stay connected with them. Ensure that you're learning beyond what your eyes are seeing every day. You're learning through different experiences as well. And then look at who are those voices that are kind of emerging at the top of the pile in your industry sector on a regular basis. Now, that is a kind of influencer status that some people invest time and effort in. If those are the ones that really resonate with yourself in terms of your industry and your professional space, by all means, start to engage with them. You could learn from them. You might have some interesting thoughts as a comment on their post. You might have a question that might spark a discussion on that profile, on that post, and you might even, you never know, be the reason for a new topic that they might think of and want to explore in more detail. So now we've looked at all of these steps that have to be taken. And the simplest thing that I could think of leaving behind with all of you was a kind of a timeline as to how long you would potentially need. I don't think this is a very long process because everything is fairly easy to put into place, except the last bit. The sustenance part is probably going to be the rest of your life. So if you were to look at the kind of how you're going to be spending your time over the next couple of weeks, the week one audit, and the reason why you can look at all of the sub points that are included over there, but the reason why the audit and define was not just a 2-hour process was because the audit part is the easy bit. Defining your personal brand, getting those strengths that you want to highlight, analyzing the results and identifying those areas that need to be improved, your first brand statement, all of these are probably going to maybe even take you more than a week. But it's not difficult, it's not hard, it's just that you need to be so conscious and so well considered in how you prepare yourself for this and how you present what you're finally putting out there, that it really needs that level of time and effort. Now, as I was saying earlier, there are potentially many other areas that go into a bit more detail, and if you have access to training sessions in your workplace, that there are now I understand a number of companies that are investing in training their new employees, especially those who are early career or first job out of university, training them with an effort to bridge what they call the industry academia divide. You go to college believing that you're learning a certain set of skills and expertise. You come to the workplace and very often realize that this is nothing like what how things are really done. Being able to be a part of some session like that really helps you to build up your brand profile from the brand characteristics onward, whether it is the tone of voice of your brand, the values that of your brand, the kind of personality type of your brand. All of these are, let's say, slightly more detailed level, which we are not going to go into over here. And potentially, I'm leaving with Maria and the team for them to plan for future sessions. What you define when you go into, you start the actual work of updating your assets. Now, this is not just about starting to get things going, but of course, get a good photograph. But more importantly, get those proof points, get those things, start to build that proof as well, so that when you go into that actual moment in week 4 and beyond of keeping things active and constantly alive in terms of your personal brand, you will always have these things behind you, whether it is your brand statement, your the key messages that you want the people to know, your summary, your professional and your personal summary, your work examples and the proof points below behind it, and the testimonials from peers, from your colleagues and friends. All of these will definitely go a long way to that you have a great personal brand. I'm going to pause over here. Maria and Shravan, can you let me know in terms of time how much we have left, if we do, and how much time I can use for an activity?
Anit's provided 5 minutes. If you're able to wind up with the activity, then we're good to go. You can stretch it to 5 minutes because there may be certain Q&As as well.
Okay. In that case, can I make a suggestion? If we can open it Q&As now, what I will do is I will then take this group through the activity and leave it for them to complete at their own time.
All right. Okay. We can do that.
Okay.
Shravan, so if there are any questions in chat, just try to articulate it to the speaker because you may not be able to view the chats as well sometimes.
Okay, all right.
Otherwise, the students are free to raise hand and go ahead with questions.
And no, sir,
Does
please.
anyone have any questions?
Yes, we already have one, I suppose.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for the insightful session, I would say. And my question is that as students, how do we build a personal brand? Because we are still exploring our career directions and opportunities, and we don't really have a defined, you know, niche or a particular topic yet.
Sure. So, Archita, are you currently in a university, or are you a part of a
So, could you repeat?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Your voice broke, sir, when you were asking one.
Mine? Oh, sorry. Are you currently in university, or are you already working?
University, sir.
Okay, okay. So, see, I mean, everybody, we've all started somewhere. So that means that there are jobs that require are open to people who are just out of university. Every job is not open to everybody, irrespective of the number of years of experience. There are, specific things that people look for. And I'm just drawing this parallel because building your personal brand does not necessarily have to only be on the back of your professional experience. Now, uh, if for instance you are currently in, let's say, the third year of your degree program, which means that you've had uh, 3 to 5 years beyond high school, during which time you've done a number of projects, a number of maybe even internships. All of these things are areas that you have chosen to invest your time and effort. All of these are areas or touch points that you could potentially have proof points to show your success rate. Um, there are companies that hire purely on the basis of your marks card. There are companies that hire purely on the basis of how active you were outside of your academics in your university time. So there's no quick answer, Archita, to say that this is how you should do it for yourself. But the simple fact of the matter is nothing is not important. However you have chosen to spend your time, however you have chosen to invest in and build your personal brand over these years, that's all important for you to add into your brand for now. Once you start working over the first couple of years, of course you will have more professional um, milestones to include there. And at that time, like I said, we are going to keep this active and dynamic anyway. You have to keep updating it. So over the years you will see that there is less of your academic time in your profile and more of your professional time. But for now, by all means, feel free to use all of the touch points and milestones from your academic life to create that profile for yourself.
Thank you so much, sir.
Is there anybody else?
Anit, we can go ahead with the activity. I don't see any questions in chat.
Uh, Ma'am, I had a question.
Okay, go ahead. Is this
So,
Hussein?
yes, yes.
Yes, Hussein, please go ahead.
So, sir, you had mentioned that offline networking events don't really happen that often, and it's difficult to sort of find those events where you actually click in and where your interests lie. So, I'm curious about what strategy you would suggest for networking over LinkedIn. In the sense, what are the steps to follow to ensure that in the say 2 3 fields I'm interested in, like right now as a university student, I can, like, how do I sort of reach those people who think in the same way and who want to do the same things in the future.
Uh, that's, I mean, interesting thought, Hussein. But you broadly touched on areas of interest. Can you maybe be a bit more specific? Can you think of one or two areas that you would think that you would like to dive a little deeper into?
Sure, sir. So, I've taken finance in my final year. I am passionate about operations, about consulting, about startups, all these fields in the finance domain itself. And now,
Sure.
obviously, there's a good network that I've sort of built in college as well, because a lot of peers are doing the same things and attending similar events and workshops and case competitions. But
Yeah.
outside of my known network, how do I go about doing that?
Sure. So, see, there are a couple of ways. Now, one, I would say that when it comes to networking, it's in a professional sense. When you are in the workplace, there is value in peer-to-peer networking, where you, as the, let's say, finance and operations head of startup A, want to know and interact with the finance and operations head of startup B, because you will have a lot of commonalities in terms of how you share your experiences, how you can learn from each other's troubles, and how you worked around it, all of that. But I would say at the bigger value is in identifying those later stage professionals in those areas that you're interested in, and starting to follow them and their networks. Let's say you find somebody via a media story in something like Times of India, or a business magazine, and you find that they are the finance and operations head for uh, I don't know, Dell India. Um, they have a certain set of experience, expertise, and insights that are probably a few years ahead of you in terms of just number of years of experience. So there be value in starting at that level, to start to follow people who are more advanced in terms of seniority and experience, and then come down that chain in that sense. So if you were, let's say, look at it um, uh, from a medical point of view, if you want the most believable advice or the best advice, you go to the super specialist in that particular topic. If you want to meet two others, then you go to the specialist. If you want to meet five others, you go to the general physicians. So it's as you go higher up the chain is where you have that real peak of expertise. I would say that you focus your efforts on finding those people, following them, and automatically you will start to see that the people who comment on their posts, the people who are in conversation with them, are also people that are very well related to those areas that are important to you. And through that way, immediately you start to grow your own network. It might not be a physical meeting network immediately, but at least you're getting frequent insights, you're getting frequent updates, and you're getting to learn from people with kind of real world experience in an area that is very much important, and something that you're following. Does that make sense, Hussein?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Uh, yeah, due to time constraints, now we will proceed to the activity.
Okay, so
Yeah.
unfortunately, we are not going to have time to go through your responses or your thoughts around this area. But in and this is something that in my years that I've spent in branding and marketing, this is an exercise that we use with large corporates in a time when they are looking to rebrand the entire organization. We do what we call a brand workshop, which essentially breaks down the brand among or within the minds of the people who are most responsible for curating and owning that brand. For us, in our parlance or in our experience, it is generally the senior most leadership of the brand, the CEO, the COO, the chief financial officer, the chief marketing officer, and the entire marketing department, who are what you would call the custodians of the brand. Now, this is an exercise that we do with them in their mind to really break down that brand to a basic relatable level, and from there to help you build it back up. So the exercise is very simple. Feel free to take a screenshot or a picture or anything you'd like, and you know go nuts with it, in the sense that have fun with it. See how your own personal brand can benefit from this, and if you then break it down to a point where you feel these are the this is the baseline that my brand is at, you can then go into building it from there. So here we go. The task is to find your brand equivalent. Now, a brand equivalent is essentially like anybody who knows, who's gone to buy medicine or gone to buy a soft drink. They'll say, I don't have 7 Up, but I have Sprite. I don't have Coke, I have Pepsi. I don't have Crocin, I have whatever else. A brand equivalent essentially is another brand that kind of has similar characteristics as yours. You're looking at step number 1. Pick one brand equivalent, and any one. It doesn't have to be multiple of these. Of course, you're free to do it multiple times with each of these. This one probably is, just to generalize a bit, maybe more for the guys, but pick your favorite car or bike, or which car or bike do you think is most representative of your personal brand? Which animal or bird could be most representative of your personal brand? And which consumer brand? Think of Coke, Samsung, Apple, I don't know, Carrier, Air India, any consumer brand that you can think of. Look at which ones are most aligned, representative of your personal brand. Now, representative on the basis of the brand characteristics that you see in section 2. Every brand is built on 5 pillars: the personality, its values, the purpose for which the brand exists, the promise that it articulates to everybody who experiences and interacts with that brand, and the brand voice, or the tone of voice, or the the kind of how a brand would sound. Now, this can be the choice of words, it can be the way of framing a sentence, any of that. But again, the brand characteristics of personality: is it warm, is it innovative, is it dependable? What are the core values that underpin that particular brand? Integrity, inclusion, sustainability. What is the purpose for which it exists beyond just selling? Is it, like Christ University does, to be a nurturing ground for the holistic development? What is the promise that it makes to everyone interacting with that brand? It could be as simple as simplicity. It could be about its quality. And what kind of voice do you attribute to that brand, such as authoritative, optimistic, or funny? This is the exercise. I want you to pick any of those brand equivalents in one, equate it to your own personal brand. So essentially, in my case, just as an example, I might say that my personal brand equivalent is the Ford Mustang. The Ford Mustang is innovative, it is fast, it is high tech, and it is masculine. Its values are quality, reliability, and I don't know, value for money. The purpose the brand exists is to help automotive enthusiasts differentiate themselves from people who drive 4-door cars or small SUVs. What is the promise that that brand has made to the market or to every person who interacts with that brand. It is that every time you switch on the engine, you will break out in a smile. What's the voice like? The voice is not going to be like Pepsi or Coke, which is trying to build a universal appeal. This is talking in the tone of somebody who's outdoors a lot. This is somebody who's very competitive. This is somebody who's extremely, you know, focused on their own performance and their own maybe even looks. Um, so that's the kind of example that I could take you through. But when you do this, ideally I would like you to use this as, uh, once you've identified the brand equivalent, once you've gone through all of the brand characteristics and listed them out, go back to those characteristics that you listed for that brand and see which of those apply to you and your brand. If it doesn't apply, cut it out. If you don't think it does, throw it out without a second glance. But if it does, if it really resonates that this is clearly aligned with your own personal brand, keep it over there and use those words that you are left with. You may be left with 6, 10, 15 words. Use those words as the base for your brand statement, for your headline on LinkedIn. Use that as your key message, your key professional summary on your CV. Use those words and use those words often every time you talk about yourself and your brand. Is that clear for now? Is there any questions on this
Yes.
or in general? Any questions, anyone?
I don't think there are any questions to anyone's asking.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Shravan, in that case, can we conclude it?
Yeah, sure. As we
Just
draw today's session,
sorry, just if sorry for interrupting, but on
no,
your screen now you'll see my email, my LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, any comments as you're doing the brand equivalent exercise. Please feel free to reach out and connect. Just let me know that this is where you met me, so that I can know that this is where you've gotten the contact from. Thank you all very much.
sure. Sure. Okay. As we draw today's session to a close, it is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. On behalf of the Office of Alumni Engagement, Christ, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to Mr. Anit Varkey Kurian for so generously giving us his time and for the depth of insight he brought to personal branding for the job market. His candid reflections and practical guidance have given every one of us something concrete to carry forward in our own professional journeys. Finally, we extend our sincere thanks to all the students, alumni, faculty members, and professionals who joined us today. Your active participation, thoughtful questions, and enthusiastic engagement truly made this session interactive and meaningful. Before we conclude, we are also delighted to invite you to the next session of the Global Connect series webinar, North American Chapter, Session 5, titled Practical Guide for Students Planning a Career in the US. The session will feature Ms. Neha Jain, Graduate Research Assistant, J. Mac Robinson, College of Business, Georgia State University, USA, and formerly Data Governance Manager, Standard Chartered Business, Bengaluru, and distinguished alumna of Christ. It will be held on 29th August 2026 from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We encourage you all to join us for another enriching session and gain valuable insights into higher education pathways, internships, work opportunities, visa basics, and networking strategies for building a successful career in the US. With that, we formally conclude today's session. Thank you once again for being a part of the Global Connect series webinar. We wish you all a pleasant evening ahead and look forward to welcoming you to our future sessions. Thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you.